back into it. It's my new song.
Oh my God.
Put your back into it.
That was very like UK drum and bass. The beginning of it was spot on.
It's the only beatbox I can do. It's just that one beat, which is basically, "Hey Mickey, you're so fine, you blew my mind. Hey Mickey," that's it. They're like, I got no original thoughts.
Well, I just upgraded to Windows 11, and it has messed with my settings. And so, like, I get weird notification sounds and shit where I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, you've never made this sound before.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
But it sounds like you've got that UK drum and bass beatbox on lock. That was spot on. I don't know if I've ever heard a better like UK drum and bass beatboxing before. Like seriously,
it's all about making multiple futures for yourself. That's the key right here. Is like just when you think your life is like at the end point where you're like maybe it can't change anymore. Nah. Mouth fart, drum and bass.
There's still plenty of options left. Oh my God.
Yeah. Discord is hopping.
It be popping, yo. Mine's not. After I deleted my old Discord, my server, every other server, I think I'm only in like 2 or 3 servers now, and I don't even know why I'm in the ones that I'm in, other than like a couple of like really the only servers. Like we have our server. There's the Colorado 40K Discord server. There's my team's Discord server. There's the Doink server. And I feel like that's the only servers I'm in. I think I'm in a couple other ones, but I don't even know why I'm in them. Like, I'm probably just going to leave.
Yeah. I'm starting to really feel that. Like, I have so many that I entered in because of the murder basement. Where I'm just like, it's not that I don't want to know what's going on with these people. I really, truly do. But it's also... You ever just get to that point where there's just too much noise?
Yeah. But that's been my last year. I had a year of that and stopped doing everything because of it.
Yeah. I am most certainly right now in the there's too much noise phase. And I'm like either handling it extremely well or extremely poorly. I'm not exactly sure.
So do you want my opinion about what you just said about how you feel like you want to be able to keep up with people or whatever with the murder basement or whatever? I felt that way. I was like, I'm only talking to these people. I'm only in all these servers because I feel obligated to know what's going on and to keep up.
Yeah.
So then I decided to just stop talking to everyone and doing everything. And then I realized who I actually care about and who I actually want to talk to. And unsurprisingly, I still talk to them all the time, like either through Instagram or Discord. And that's it. You know, like there's still quite a few of my painting buddies who I talk to almost every day. And
sure.
It's like, I don't know. It's weird, man. Once you start cutting out the noise, it's like almost like the things that you really care about still exist. And then the things that don't really have a point, like the things that truly are noise just don't really come back. But like the things that matter, like you continue to talk to those people. Super interesting.
Dude, I'm in a really weird spot right now when it comes to content creation and all the stuff that you know we have done and set up for ourselves over the last couple of years, and mainly because it's the fact that I have such little time because of school, and I still want to keep on doing the things that I've been doing. I'm realizing that so many of my old habits were truly unhealthy. A lot of the relationships that I thought were more important aren't at all. And it's not because like they're bad people and I'm just like, oh man, I gotta get the fuck out of here. It's just like literally we kind of were like two passing ships in the night and maybe we stayed around each other too long, you know? And so it's just like trying to figure out how to navigate this new life in this new direction while being true to myself, to the like moral standard and the ethical standard of content creation that I've set up for myself, where I never wanted to be just one thing. I wanted people to be a part of everything, and that's something that like I'm really proud of you for taking that step to open your heart and your world to a whole new audience, because like that's a pretty brave move, and is something totally different than what you had done in the last couple of years. And I'm very excited to see how it treats you and how people are handling that.
Yeah, so it's weird. I'm down like 100 followers, which is not a big deal anymore.
That's like 0.01% of your followers.
Pretty
that's
much.
nothing.
Yeah, I think it's like literally roughly I think it's actually like 1% or less than. I don't know. I'm not a math guy, but so this is
Dude,
actually super.
you've got 10,000 followers right now.
Yeah,
So, or
I
just
think I
shy
was
of
like,
that?
I think I almost hit 9,400 and now I'm back
Yeah.
below 9,300. So whatever that math is, I think that's 1%. That's ballpark 1%.
Yeah, maybe. Now I can't do the math in my head.
Yeah, maybe.
It's about 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I look at it like this, and this is super interesting. Devin Nash.
Yes, you're right. It's 1%. You're totally right.
We did it.
God
Okay.
damn it.
So Devin Nash did this thing, and he was talking about how people don't take what people perceive as will not recover from style of risks are basically non-existent. Yeah. Especially in content creation, that almost nothing is non-recoverable, and that people aren't really willing to take enough risks because they're too worried about what's going to happen. And
child porn's non-recoverable. That ends it right there.
Yeah, there's some stuff. There's some cancel culture that's very real, that like your brand is done forever. But I think that there's
Jared from Subway, done forever.
Yeah. There's a lot less things other than obviously like fuck you, like nobody cares about you anymore things. Than people are willing to admit in content creation. And this was something that I was like terrified to do. I had anxiety. I was like, I don't know, do I want to be just a miniature painting handle, or should I just combine all my projects in one and just be like, fuck you, you're either in or you're out? And
and the sauce is a vibe. Like your sauce isn't like a mixture of paint that you're like, this is the sauce, like, and you're making your own thing. The sauce is a vibe. Like it's not.
It's like a lifestyle.
Exactly. And I celebrate the fact that the sauce is now like the sauce productions. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'm like super excited for you. And I personally like I'm just tired of being lied to by social media.
I feel the same. And it's like, I think that that's what I've learned, right? I'm like about a week into this, like, you know what, fuck it journey. And
fuck it journey. I love it.
That's where I'm at with the whole thing. And like, it's interesting. Like, I think that's something that people and my friends, and this is a constant conversation, especially in the Doinks crew, is like, what are we even doing anymore? And like, I think the reality is the algorithm has fucked with all of our heads. And I think the appropriate response is to just be like, you know what, fuck it. That's it. Like, I don't know why else if you're not in it with that kind of attitude anymore, I just don't get it. And like, I guess I can't speak for everyone because I don't need this to eat food, right? I'm not eating food based on content. And I think that changes things significantly.
But truly very few people from our hobby are eating food because of this. And the people who are like so few and far between that they're probably like two digits, handfuls of digits worth on the planet. And then the people who like to make you believe that that's what it is, but it's not. There's very few people that it is 100% of their income. There's a partner, there is other circumstances.
Sure.
Nobody is just making like a huge living painting minis in mass the way that we'd like to believe that they are.
Sure. They're certainly the 1% of the 1%, I would say.
Right.
And I think, like I was in the top just 1% of all of Twitch, which I think says a lot about Twitch. But I am an ant compared to some even Warhammer streamers. You know what I mean? And so like the 1% of the 1% is not only are they eating from this hobby, they're eating Kobe steak every night. Like they're eating so well, but it's an incredibly small percentage. So yeah, I think that this is like, I think most people who create content in general, and especially in the Warhammer content creation space, are not doing this to eat. They're doing it as a hobby or maybe as a side thing to gain traction for commission painting or whatever.
Sure.
But I think that there is actually, turns out, not a ton of downside to making tremendous risks on social media and being able to say like, you know what, fuck the algorithm. I'm going to do whatever I want. And I think that, unsurprisingly, Devin Nash has spoken about this at length, not specifically about the algorithm and deciding what to do, but he's talked quite a bit at length about how not taking risks is a huge thing because there's not a ton of downside.
Right. No, and I've been saying the same thing to you for 2 years now. like, you and I have been like off and on talking and joking about this for forever. And the further I get, the more validated I feel by it, and the more, and even if it isn't as true as I want it to be, like I'm manifesting the future that I think is right, because we're in this really weird place where, like, I don't know, man, it feels like we are losing the thread on why we like to hobby, why we like to do things, and I just see the stress that people are putting on themselves for like nothing, like truly nothing. Like I'm extremely transparent with how much money I've earned from Twitch and Patreon and YouTube over the last several years of doing it, because it's about the most money I've ever made in any hobby, like more than music, more than anything, which is really, really sad, because like I've put way more money into music and way more time into music. But content creation has helped my music career. I've made more money in music this last couple of years than I ever did when I was active. But it took 1 year to make $100, like literally a year to the day, to get $100 from YouTube. 1 year.
Yeah. I still don't know if I've ever gotten a YouTube payout. I would have to check. I don't know. They keep turning off my monetization and are like, we don't know. Like I've submitted like pictures of my driver's license and they're like, we have to send you a letter now. And then you have to type in a code that comes on the letter. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I don't even know if I monetize right now or not. They keep turning it off and on and unverifying me. And I'm like, what kind of verification process is this? Like, it's me. I've confirmed the emails. You have a picture of my driver's license. I believe I sent that to them. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, I don't even know if I'm making ad revenue or not right now.
It's so small that I'd almost say don't do it to your fans, and I'm very sorry for my fans that that's what I do, because now I'm at that point where I'm feeding the machine, because I'm like, part of what gets you into the algorithms, like the Python of the algorithm, is giving YouTube a chance to make money off of you.
Yeah.
And by monetizing your content, it puts you in the zone where they're like, oh, if people like this, we'll share it with people. And so like I feel like, again, like I used to complain so much about Twitch and how much like the $100 every other month, at my best, that's as much money as I was making on Twitch. With the rare exception of like Christmas, where like, man, Duff is like one of the sweetest people. And he was like, he came in and I think he threw down like $100 in my fee, and then everybody else started piling on. So I think I made $200 that month. And I was just like, Duff, that's so sweet. You didn't have to do that. And he's like, I believe in you and I want you to know that. I was like, you could have sent me a fucking text message, man. But because like I have such a huge like problem with the way that Twitch monetizes, because
Yeah.
like until you are, and I didn't even realize this, like you could be a partner on Twitch and they still take 50% of your money.
Yeah, the first partner payout rate is the exact same as affiliate. Nothing
Yeah.
changes.
Get fucked, Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah,
Get fucked.
I have
You suck.
significantly less problems internally monetizing YouTube versus Twitch because of how Twitch monetizes and because I am a huge believer of. I use it. I love it. It's my favorite subscription every month. YouTube Premium is the greatest $13 I spend every month because
Dude, fuck yeah.
it's
Same.
the best. You ads? No. Bye. Here's $13. I don't ever want to see that again. Like if Twitch had a premium service like that included one gift sub or maybe even up to like 2 gift subs a month, no ads, Twitch would be 100% better ecosystem for viewers. But it's not.
Absolutely.
Twitch is terrible ecosystem for viewers. And I think that that's why I don't have a problem. I think that it's fair to say, like, I don't want to monetize on Twitch because I don't want to make my viewers watch ads. I think that's fair. I don't feel the same about YouTube because I think that people have a way to opt out of ads. I think that they're way less in your face in general on YouTube than on Twitch. And so I don't really have a problem with monetizing YouTube. I think that I wish that it paid out better. I think that it's kind of hilarious how much it pays out compared to what it used to pay out like 10 years ago. But
well, and the barrier to get it to pay out is crazy. Like just to actually get to the monetization zone is 1,000 subs in a calendar year in 365 days, 1,000 subs, 4,000 hours of watch time
is a lot.
That's a lot. To put it into perspective, we do 2-hour-long podcasts. Our YouTube channel for Something Wholesome just hit the 50-hour mark.
Yeah.
We've been putting out episodes now for this will be our 3rd month. Like that's obscene. Like, and that's better. That's like actually a good ratio for how few subs we have on there. And like my personal one has actually been kind of hopping again. It's not like as big as it ever was during the murder basement, but I think people are finally starting to come around to the idea of, more philosophical content creation like what we do here, which I find super fucking exciting. And I think people are really understand the reason why you and I gel now, which is like I've been trying to explain to people. I was like, no, like Trenton's about the only person who I think gets it the same way I do and is willing to talk about it because like so many people are nervous about it. They don't want to seem like all they're in it for is the money and this and that. And like, and I get that. I very much was like that in the beginning, but then once I realized how stacked against you the cards are, I was like, no, actually, I think that it's we are doing a disservice to not talk about that. And I think that is something that recently has just become really, really obvious to me.
Yeah, I completely agree on all of that. Like I think we've always gelled, and I agree with the mentality that I feel like it's a disservice for people who have been insiders to not share very transparently their experience. And yeah, going back to like money on Twitch, like I don't think I've ever really truly transparently shared what I was making, but I was actually pulling in between like $500 and $1,000 a month on Twitch.
Were you really?
Yeah, consistently. And
dude, that's like it's the fucking cult of the sauce. I'm telling you, like you had Sauce Nation Rides was the best motto you ever could have come up with because it got people behind you in a way that I just like I never understood and could hit, and it's amazing.
I just had a really generous community, and I think that people. I think if I could give one piece of advice to somebody, well, I could give a lot of advice, but if I could give one piece of advice to somebody who wants to make money on Twitch, is you have to deliver value in order to get money. Because I think that people are willing to watch an entertaining streamer. I think that people are willing to subscribe to somebody that gives them something in return. And that was always a really important pinnacle of my stream, was trying to teach something every stream. And I think that was what delivered back money in return, was I will give you this piece of knowledge. And all my viewers knew it, you know, like I wasn't in it for the money. I wanted the view time, right? And that's why I put up, back in the day, I had a Patreon for just my old episodes. It was like, look, you either make it live or you got to pay $5 a month to watch me. It's up to you. Like time is money. So if you want to make it a priority, come watch me. It's free. You could watch me for free, or you can toss me $5 to watch it afterwards. And that was kind of always my agreement, I felt like, with my audience. So that always helped me. And then, you know, I just did dumb stuff with my audience. Like, people used to pay me $5 to take off my hat and then $5 to put it back on. And it was like my hat was off and on the whole stream. And like that added up. Like, and it was,
but that was also like the downfall of the sauce on, you know, like the dance monkey dance act is what got your ass fucking like totally fired from Twitch, you know, like that attitude is like, while a great way to do it, I mean, like, it turned in for, you know, a good friend of mine. She was streaming, and like, I know that she wouldn't mind me saying her name, but I think we're at the point where like, who it is doesn't matter, but what it was actually does matter a lot. And people were paying them $25 a month, which is like tier 3 Twitch sub, to like draw furry girls on live on Twitch while she was like painting models, and it kept on getting more and more sexualized and more specific, to the point where she was like, I actually don't feel comfortable doing that. And he got like extremely aggressive about it, and like was like, no, you like do this. I was like, tell him to eat shit. Like, you don't owe anybody anything. Like, this whole idea, this dance monkey dance game, is so stupid, and it's something that like I never have bought into. And that was like, when you had your first chaos, was because like someone wanted you to dress and drag for a fundraiser, and that wasn't your game, and it shouldn't ever be. You shouldn't ever expect a streamer to do something, and that turned into a whole like, oh, fucking, you know, he isn't an ally, you know, he's only doing this for the views. And, you know, like, where you would have happily donated money, you would have happily done a stream to make money for this thing, but you just didn't want to do something that, you know, like everybody in like thought that you should do. Like, that's bullshit, you know. And it's like this danger of the parasocial relationship, where they feel like they have much more weight over your choices. You know, it's just like, you know, welcome to something wholesome. We've been doing this now for a half hour and we haven't said anything. I think the name of this episode is "Sorry, We've Been Lying to You."
Yeah.
Because that's what it feels like. It feels like content creation is this thing that people do, and there's so many reasons why they do it, and the stepping stones to get there are often lied about. The amount of money that can be made is lying about, and the fucking mental toll that it takes is being lied about on like a daily basis, all for this idea of like, we need to remain positive. And I'm kind of rejecting that. I'm kind of more like, no, we should actually just like warn people about what, you know, like the actual mental toll. They can choose whether or not they want to do this. And, you know, and we can celebrate people for making choices in their life that are smarter for them emotionally or monetarily, you know, like, goes both ways.
We're both like open books about that. So it's like such an important topic to talk about. And especially like, there's a lot. I think we've already shed a little bit of light about the dramatic range of payouts you can expect from being a Twitch streamer is tremendous. It's the biggest window ever, and it totally is up in the air and depends on so many different factors. The time commitment to it, I feel like we've talked about this before in the past, but making content takes way more time than you'd ever expect. However much time you think it is, double it, which we've talked about for many things. Like, right? Like, you want to get into a new hobby, double your budget. You want to make content, double the time. But I think the part that's not being talked about a ton is the mental health aspect. And I think that people are really struggling with it right now with the changes in the algorithm that feel brutal. I don't know if being a Warhammer creator is favorable on the Instagram algorithm, for example, right now. It is very hard to make Warhammer content for Instagram because Warhammer content feels curated to photos. And Instagram is basically like, here's a middle finger to you, photographer. Nobody cares anymore.
It's
Make a
now
video
TikTok.
or nothing. And their algorithm is not as good as TikTok. So I'm talking to people all the time who are like, I'm just done even making reels on Instagram. Why not just do the TikTok thing? Like, why am I not doing that? If that's what Instagram's trying to do, why am I not just doing this on TikTok? And I think that that's such a weird place to be in. And so, like, I am just trying to rise above the mentality of like shifting platforms. I understand the frustration and the, you know, if it's not working, why not try something new? I get that. I think that's actually really fair and a good way to approach the problem right now. But I'm just more in the, you know what, fuck it diet, and I'm having a great time. One weekend, and I'm like, I could post whatever I want.
Yeah,
and like,
take a break. It's fine.
Yeah, so it's
my most interacted with post is I did a reel. I've been making these plinths, and I'm showing it on camera here. These nice spalted maple plinths, stained in a walnut, coming soon to a like peer-to-peer sale near you as I'm picking out the ones that I'm wanting.
Direct sale through Instagram
afterwards.
Yeah.
My most interacted with post is I did a short little thing. I did a Mark Lanigan song behind it. And like, I did a reel because I was trying out what you said. Like, you could post a photo and get like, you know, a fraction of the likes that you were getting before, or you could post a reel and hit a whole new audience. And like, I think it's now been viewed like over 2,000 times, which for something so specific as miniature painting plinths is like pretty amazing. And I'm just like, you gotta follow this stupid ass algorithm to like do anything. And the content isn't any better than what I was doing with just a single photo. Objectively, it's worse as like the compression ratio of the video like crunches it a little bit and takes that, like, gives it this like Vaseline haze. Like, I'm already not a great, videographer, cinematographer, and then you put like a shitty like internet compression ratio on it, and it's just like, looks like garbage. Awesome. People are seeing garbage now. That is shit that I don't care about. Like, it's frustrating. Not gonna lie, it's frustrating.
Yeah. I think that the algorithm is kind of the judge and the jury of everything when it comes to content creation. It ultimately decides every factor, I believe, of how it goes, right? It decides how much money you make. It decides how many people see it, how much you grow. Like, all of that's based on how well something performs on the algorithm. And when there's an algorithm that's constantly shifting, and the meta of content creation is also constantly shifting, it's very taxing mentally to keep up with, and can have a lot of pitfalls because you feel like you're trying something, but you're greeted with like literally unfollows in return for experimentation by certain people. And like, that's brutal. And I think that then takes even more of a toll on people. And like, I think I've kind of just reached a point. I was talking to one of my buddies, Xerxes from Germany, who does I don't know if you've ever seen the Transforming Alpha Legion scheme, where it's like in the middle of shifting from like a loyalist to Alpha Legion with like, it's like the two-tone armor with like the lightning stripe down the middle of it.
I haven't
super cool scheme. Great guy. And he was, he's been along for my journey and knows like, oh yeah, Sauce is on this fuck it diet now. And is like, I just need to adopt some of that mentality. And I'm like, it comes from just genuinely just not caring anymore. Like, I think something just finally clicked in my head, and I was like, if I am making content to just get follows and likes and grow and appease the algorithm, then I'm not really in it for what I got into it for in the first place, which is to just share what I'm having fun with.
Yeah.
And I think that part like got lost. And I think that to beat the algorithm game now, you either feed into it or you just walk past it. And I think by like trying to walk around the game, um, I think mentally you're in a better place as long as you understand the repercussions, right? The potentially negative repercussions of being like, yeah, your brand is just falling apart. Like people are like, what's happening? Like your followers are losing. Like it's just weird, but it's also like, it's rewarding. It opens you up to new opportunities. And so,
Sure.
yeah, I think the lies of the algorithm, I think the algorithm is honest, but I think how we expect it to operate is not. I think that's where there's a disconnect. I think the algorithm is what it is, right? And I think that we just have these grandiose visions about I'm going to beat the algorithm. This next post is going to be my post. And when it's not, that sucks.
Yeah, dude, the delusion of grandeur is a very real thing that anybody who gets into this will eventually feel if they haven't already been there. Of like something hits and it is an amazing dopamine hit, man. Like it feels so good. You're like, oh, that shit. Oh, that was so good.
Oh, new likes. Oh,
Yeah.
look at all those follows.
I'm gonna do this again next week, and then when it doesn't, you're like, what did I do wrong? Well, you didn't do anything wrong. And like the whole idea that like you should constantly be getting the same the same interaction every single time is so rare. And like so it's something that I've been like watching. So I'm old school YouTube, like before it was like the setup the way that it is. I mean, I watched Saddam Hussein hang on YouTube at work. I watched a fucking snuff film at work one day, like old school YouTube user. So I've seen it change over the years.
Yeah.
And
same, by the way.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Angry Video Game Nerd?
No.
No.
I don't know that account. I will though. I'll check it out.
So James Rolfe is the Angry Video Game Nerd. He has been doing it for forever. Like one of the earliest outrage nerd accounts where like he would sit down and play Nintendo games, and it was all like really poorly edited, poorly filmed short videos of him like just being mad at old Nintendo games essentially. Which is very easy content. It's great, easy content because those old games suck and they're really hard to play. So it's like, it's not like you have to stretch to be that mad. We're now at like 12 years later of him been doing it, or longer, 14 years or something. And, it's hard to be angry for that long. like if you are that angry as an adult, you need a therapist and probably medication, like it's not cute anymore. And so he's got like 3 million followers. I think 3.4 or something like that. He's been doing it for forever. His videos barely, like they eventually hit numbers, but they are barely at like the 100,000 mark, when they come out. And which is just a real piss poor conversion ratio for your audience, because like even though it shows that he's much further out there, he's doing way worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to get him on the show and talk with him about it, because like he's done really weird things to try to maintain some sort of relevance and like lighten his actual workload that I think has like totally backfired on him. And I would love to be able to understand what that was like and how that affected his business, because content creation is a business.
Mm-hmm.
Like we like to think of it as this passion thing, and it may start off as that, but like especially once you make your living on it, it's 100% a business, and you need to actually treat it as such. And that is just can take the fun right the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
But he's gone on to he's got 2 video games based off of him. He made a full-length feature movie, which is like absolute dog crap but kind of endearing at the same time. So it's like if you like trauma movies and things that are in that level of camp, you'll have fun watching his movie.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting seeing how someone like him handles the change in the algorithm and what that means to his actual financial future. You know, it's I've been getting back into it and just looking at it and I'm like, huh, like this, he's still doing the angry thing. Interesting. When I think everybody just really wants James. You know, at a certain point, you you no longer are the thing that you're selling to the people, and the people are sticking around. They're actually just here because they actually want to see you talk. And I think that's a really interesting aspect of the parasocial relationship of content creation is that you know, you either get to the point where people like are, you know, totally bored with you, or you're at the point where the people that are still around just want to know you as a human being. And that's really special, you know, like it's hard not to get behind that.
Yeah. So there's this YouTuber that I really like. I think his name is GX Ace, I want to say.
Okay.
He's a camera reviewer, but he does the most unbelievable reviews of cameras you've ever seen. The production value on these are absolutely mind-numbing. And he's small. Well, he's small as in like I think he's got 20,000 subs, which in the world of YouTube isn't huge, right? Like I would put him in
It's
this in
really small. Yeah.
yeah. So I consider him small. So I saw a comment.
It's only four times. It's yeah, four times as big as you. Like that's. I'm not saying that like
Yeah.
you should feel down on what you've done. You should be like totally positive. But like, you know, cameras are much more like wider,
A huge
a
audience.
broader audience than miniatures
Huge
are.
audience.
Like,
So
yeah, like-
I saw a comment one time on his video, and a guy just said, "I would literally watch you review a fork," and I was like, "Dude, that is the pinnacle. That's like the goal." I think of beating the algorithm is getting people to understand you and your style, and they love that about you, not the necessarily the niche of your content. They just want to hear your opinion and see your content about anything. And I'm like, fuck, he beat it. He figured it out. And it's just a matter of time until like the rest of it falls in line, right? It's being picked up by the algorithm. It's having, you know, one or two videos really pop off. But the rest of his channel is there. And so it's like, you know, what I learned from him and what I continue to learn from his channel is that he figured out what he's good at and what he likes to do with content. And he just does that. And he leans into who he is as a creator. And that's, I think, his vision on how to beat the algorithm and how to deal with it is to just do him. And I think that that's like something that, I don't know. I feel like everybody's heard this, right? Like this is not new advice if you make content that somebody's like, just be you, just like do you, make a brand about you, not about a topic. And I feel like I've heard that, right? And like that's been something that's been looming in the back of my head, and that was a big part of the rebrand to like Sauce Slays. And it's like I'm getting it now. Like I think I'm really understanding what that means. Like you can hear it, but you don't.
Seen the Matrix.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like navigating it with Neo-like accuracy.
I think people hear it, and I don't know. Maybe some people understand that right off the rip, right? They're like, I get what they're saying, but I have to like live it to learn it. And I think I'm finally starting to live it and really understand what that means. And I think we talked about doing this episode about you know, written in the stars or destiny life experiences or things being, you know, just lined up, right? List signs from the universe, I think is, you know, the idea that we talked about. And we should still probably do a whole video about that because I have some crazy stories. But the big push for me and why I've decided to just say fuck the algorithm and I'm just going to do whatever I want is I've had a very transformative 2 weeks of watching content and meeting other creators. So 2 weeks ago today, I did photos at a nightclub, and it was the hardest photo shoot I've ever done, ever. It's pitch black in there. I'm used to shooting in darkness, you know, like I've shot events, I've shot DJ sets. I like to do night street photography. Like this is not new to me. This is literally a cave. There's like 2 lights on the wall, and then they have all of the lights that turn on for the headliner. Like all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I could see everything. But that wasn't my client. You know, my buddy is the opening act, the direct support, you know, the 10 p.m. to 12:30 set. And then the headliner comes on until who knows when. And it was a brutal environment to shoot in. So there's another photographer there, and me and him start talking, and I'm learning a lot about him and his photography style because his work's incredible. So based on that conversation, I changed gear. So I'm now, boop, 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 boop. I feel like we just talked, like, was that last episode? How I was like, I was talking to a guy. I'm not going to change gear. I'm staying with Canon. Well, that's gone. Yeah. I'm now a Sony shooter. I did change. I changed brands entirely. So I've had a really transformative week talking to other creators and getting inspiration, learning their style and figuring out how I can, put that onto my own work. And then the real, like, this is it. This is my sign. This is my moment to like break the mold. It is now time to pull the Band-Aid and shift directions with content and say, I don't care what the algorithm says. I don't care what I lose followers about. It's time to change. There is a very influential creator who I like. I'm probably going to say his name wrong, but Matty Hapuja, I believe is his name on YouTube. Camera reviewer. Again, I watch tons of video about videos and cameras and gear because that's really turned into one of my favorite hobbies over the last year. But this guy particularly, I've always really connected with his outlook on life. Like, what does he think is important? And his advice, particularly about content creation, has always really gelled with me. And he was the guy, I feel like we've talked about it, but he was the guy who really put that in my head. He said, somebody was like, what's your advice for a YouTube brand? And he was like, just make it your name and that's it. Because then you could make content about whatever you want and it's not tied to a subject. And I'm way too deep into this rabbit hole to do that, but I could rebrand to something kind of like that, right? And it was just trying to navigate what that looked like. So this guy's been a huge influence on me. So last Friday, new video posted by Maddie. I'm like, hell yes, it is time to watch this. I open it up and it is filmed in the very remote island in Norway that my family is from. And it is filmed from the same hotel that I stayed in when we went to the family reunion. And like, you don't just end up on this island. Like, to put it into reference, when we flew into Norway, it took us a 4-day boat ride to get to this island once we landed in Norway. Like, it's in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like, we were there in the summer. The sun doesn't go down. You watch it just kind of hit the ocean and then it goes back up. Like, it is so remote. It is so far north. And I was just like, holy fuck, why is he on the island right now? Like, I've literally been, like, I've ate where he's ate. I've looked at the, like, I am literally where he is while he's filming this. Yeah. And I'm like, this is bizarre. Because that's also, as a different side thing, if you ever have the chance to visit or trace your family back as far as you possibly can on one side, right? You kind of have the 4 family lines, you got your parents and their 2 parents, and then you just start tracing one of those lines. Yeah. If you can ever trace one of those back to as far back as you possibly can to when you're like, there's literally no record of us existing before this place. That's this island on my dad's side of the family. And if you can visit there, it is a surreal experience. Like, I don't know how to describe it other than like kind of familiar. And I feel like that's some weird like Destiny bloodline shit where it's like your body, and this is weird, like this is like philosophical weird shit, but I feel like your
genetic
body
memory stuff.
Yeah, I feel like your body kind of like knows that place in a way that's undescribable until you've been there. And that's how I connected with that place. When I went there, I connected with it. I was like, this is insane. Like, I feel like at home here in a way that I can't describe. And it's like days away from where I live, and I just felt at home there. And to have the creator who I really look up to, respect, and that really speaks the language that connects with me, to then be filming from like my home away from home in a way, was really like the universe being like, all right, dude, this is the person who you like their advice. This is a weird sign. And I was like, fuck it. Today's the day. Rip the Band-Aid off. This is the new brand. I'm just doing what I want. Like, and that's kind of was the final push I needed to just be like, you know what? It's time. And like, I think I've been rethinking about what the algorithm means to me and how do I make content. And I think that I have just fallen onto this place now that to me, it's about making content that just is passionate, and I don't really care what
Sure.
it's about. It's just something that I want to make. It's something that I want to take a photo of. It's something that, like, for miniatures, it's something that I want to paint, or like I've just finished an army that I want to play. So of course I have to paint this army. I want to play it. I have a tournament tomorrow. And
Right.
like that's where I'm at. And I think talking to this other photographer that I met at the club, fantastic photographer, unbelievable work. And I'm looking through his work, and he's just found a way to do what he loves, but make small changes to how he curates that to, in a way, appease the algorithm. But it hasn't changed how he shoots. It hasn't changed anything. It's just how he presents it is just slightly tweaked based on the algorithm. And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. Like, the way he's using carousels is incredibly, like, the swiping post on Instagram is incredibly brilliant. Like, I am going to start totally doing the exact same thing he does with carousels. And I've seen other photographers do it, but really talking to him and understanding his direction, I was like, holy shit, you fucking get it. And so I've had a very transformative, I'd say, like 2 weeks thinking about content, where I exist, and the future of it. But like,
Yeah, you've had a pretty amazing 2 weeks, like a lot of ups and downs,
yeah,
like, not a lot of stuff that, we can super get into now, but like your daily life should inform the stuff that you make, and people should be able to be, maybe not have to see every, like, every gray hair and ugliness that might come out, but like, people should be along for the ride with where you're at. They should meet you where you're at instead of you meet them where they're at, and think that that is the way that, like, content gets made, that's so much more impactful, and the stuff that you sticks with you for forever.
yeah. And that's huge, right? Like, I think as a creator, like, I think me and you are both very growth minded. I like to think I am. I believe that you are. And I think that we both are constantly, like, I think we're learners, right? Like, I want to learn, and I want to be able to improve at a skill or learn a new skill, because I want to experience so many different facets of life. And I believe that you experience that through learning. The more that I've gotten into various hobbies, and the more serious I've gotten about, especially the hobby holes that I'm in now, I think that I'm more interested in learning than displaying my skill set. But I think that I just, like to make content, so that's a different hobby anyways.
Sure.
But learning is huge right now, and I think that wanting to pursue things and create experiences along the way and share that journey is kind of where I'm at. And I think that from an audience standpoint, I've been thinking about this. I'm like, how, if you're not a creator and you're still into this 49 minutes in, if you are somebody who just watches or just interested in consuming content, like, please be gracious and patient with creators right now, because people are just trying new things, because we're being pushed in weird directions because of the algorithm. The algorithm is really starting to, two things are happening. Either the algorithm is pushing your favorite creator in a direction that they might not want to go in, or they're not appeasing the algorithm and are being brutally punished on content performance as a result of that. And neither way is good for your mental health. Like, neither one of those is fun, right? Like, you either are making something you don't want to make, or you're being punished for it. And like, that fucking sucks. Like, that not only, that might not take a toll on money, right? If you're appeasing the algorithm with uninspired content, you're probably still appeasing the algorithm, which is good, right? For creators who are living on this, that's fine. But it's not fun mentally to be, those are literally, I would say, the decisions. Well, I guess there's a third lane, which is you're already doing something that feeds the algorithm. Life is good, like. But
you got fucking lucky. And everything is great.
You're
but that's
already
not
in the jackpot. But I think most creators are in that space right now, where you are having to choose to do something you don't want to do or be punished. And so if you don't create right now and you're just a content consumer, I think it's important to be aware of what your favorite creator is probably up against right now, and that's the reality of it. And I think just be patient with them. Like, just understand that, what they're putting out might not interest you, but they're trying. Like, and that's what you have to do as a creator right now, because of how crazy the algorithms are shifting everywhere, is like, you just have to try. And like, I would say, don't venture too far from yourself, but but be willing to dabble in what that algorithm looks like within like a comfortable limit.
Yeah,
I would say
for
that's
sure.
what I've learned over the last like month or two with some of the big changes on algorithm is experiment in a way that feels home. But yeah.
Yeah. You've said a couple things here that I want to swing back on that I thought were really profound, but also like it's something that maybe people like you and me don't see that often in action. You were talking about your genetic memory of this place, this island, the special thing, this draw that's there, and you felt like it was a sign of the universe bringing you to a point of fruition, and seeing it again reignited that in you. And that's an amazing special feeling, and something that is like I would venture to guess extremely rare, because it's just where else is that going to happen, um but while you were saying that, it kind of triggered with me in the fact that like there are people with immense amount of trauma and remembered historical trauma that like every single day get reminded of a sexual assault, or for people of color, like institutionalized racism and slavery, that they get hit with stuff all the time. And like to think about like the privilege of having having the stars align moment to a fucking island off of Norway, and how that's not something that everybody can have
Yeah.
in such like an inspiring way, makes me like really think about just the sheer privilege that like I have shit like that in my history that like go back to island off of Spain where my family's from. And it's just like there's so much interesting stuff the farther you go back in our lives, but that can't be said about everybody. There's something about that like
That's,
even though like I don't want to like minimize like your exposure, it just kind of hit me in like a way that I was like, man, there are people who can't know what that feels like, and we will
yeah.
never understand what their thing feels like either. That like it's kind of fucking me up right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's totally fair to bring up that perspective because that is true, right? Like that's like the brutal, harsh thing about the world is that people don't have a shared perspective about things. Like
Yeah,
what might be a positive thing for me to like research and learn about is family history, where for other people that might be the worst possible thing that they can research and learn about.
sure.
I'm like a very I've had this conversation with my wife a lot. I believe long term in the future of humanity only because I believe that somehow humans can reach utopia. I somewhere in me that exists that we will reach utopia before we collapse as a society. Um, and so I guess I can only hope that in the future everyone can have that shared experience, right? In like 100 generations from now, somebody will be able to
Yeah,
look back and be like, hey, my family was the first family to do this, or was to live here, or to experience this, no matter their background. Like I always like to think that somewhere in the future, history can be in a weird, not rewritten, like what's done is done, but in the
right.
future, it has the potential to change and be rewritten in a different way because I just hope everything's good. But again, right? Like that's just, do I just have this weird, grand, like great vision of the future because I'm, yeah, like a white male? Do I just think the universe will figure itself out?
Yeah, the
Maybe that's a part of it.
utopian dream that we all hope, and that is the future of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where the everything is easy and great in the human race.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe in the human race, but I only believe in it because I believe that we will get there. And
Sure.
if I didn't believe in that, then I wouldn't believe in the human race. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
it's a pretty bleak place to be, and I used to like toy with the idea of being a misanthrope, and I like was making an acoustic album that I was going to call Misanthropy and Me, and it was going to be like a cutie folky album all about hating the human race. And like that's not really where I'm at anymore. But I am finding myself right now in this like zone where I'm like actually hating some of the stuff that we have done and are currently doing to ourselves. So what kind of like jump started me down this path of like, are we lying to our fans? Are we lying to ourselves? Is this something that we've done? Have we done it wrong? Have we missed the mark? I have never looked at Instagram or social media and been like, that person's life is objectively better than mine, and I'm feeling envy and jealousy that I don't have what they have, and even furthermore that they are taking something away from me, which is that jealousy, that ugly green-eyed monster, the jealousy monster. Until literally like 2 days ago. like it's never hit me. Like I don't give a fuck about the chiseled Adonis male figure. Like I think that takes a level of work that I cannot commit to. I'm pretty happy with who I am in the skin that I'm in. My dad bod rocks, and while I should lose some weight, yes, I still think I'm hot as fuck, so it doesn't matter. But and I don't even know how I ended up on this thread, but I was watching YouTube, and as one does, because when you have a YouTube Prime subscription, you
Yep.
can just watch it unfettered, and
Whatever
you
you
don't have
want.
to be bothered with ads. It's the best.
You just click on
And
anything.
your creators still get your click. Like they still get their ad revenue from your click. It's 1/10 of a penny, but who gives a fuck? You're still supporting them a little bit. But I got in the nomad van life thing, and maybe it was because I was watching like YouTubers talking about the new One Wheel GT, and like there's this one guy named Talon Sai.
Yeah.
He
You watch
great
Talon?
photographer. Yeah, he's
Talon's great. Love
Yeah,
to. I've been
and
watching Talon for years since
Yeah.
Sunday Gun Day was like the big vlog that he had. I've been watching him for
Sure,
like
sure.
8 years.
Yeah, I think that he's a very reasonable person. And like I can't say that I've watched all of it, so like I'm not gonna like vouch 100% for him. But the stuff that I've watched, I'm like, no, I like this guy. I get
Yeah.
it. And they were showing off their vans, as they were like, oh, we're filming this like thing for the GT launch, and like they're all out in the middle of the desert, and they're all showing their vans and their campers and all this shit, which is like totally cool and not far removed from my youth. Like I lived in camp trailers for 5 years growing up as we were building our house, because that was how we could afford to build a house. And so like I'm used to like really small confined spaces. And then after high school, instead of going to college, we squatted and couch surfed a lot. And, I ended up traveling with a circus for 2 summers. Like I did things to get my adventure in, as a kid, and sow those wild oats. And, there, the YouTube algorithm recommended me watching like these urban stealth campers, which very instantly went into like these Instagram, Pinterest, perfect women solo van living, which I don't want to like put too much like harp on the pretty girl in social media aspect, because I think that it's totally reductive of what they do. Because yeah, they're still working hard, they're still doing the thing.
Mhm.
The fact that they're pretty is the added benefit of their hard work, but it also like helps feed in the algorithm and my dissatisfaction with it. And so like they've been saying that social media like Instagram is horrible for our youth right now, because as they see everybody else's life, it makes them feel bad about theirs. And so much so that it like skews what is actually probably a totally fine life to people thinking that their life is actually like a cycle of abuse, and like they are internalizing it as not having what's the term, the opportunities that they actually totally have,
Mhm.
because like so much of it comes from if you have room to worry about that, you have the privilege to worry about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't. And so I'm watching these young women travel alone, and they're just like, "Oh, life is good," and blah blah blah, and just like hokey fucking like camera tricks and like clickbaity tags and like the I'd never want to do a YouTube like thumbnail that is specifically like, or for this is really bad theater for the podcast, the listeners solely, is where I'm like, doing the "oh, I can't believe that happened" face, or like "uh-oh," like this like stupid fucking thumbnail that you all know. They all sound the same. The stupid music that they play, like it's all this manufactured thing to make you feel like beholden to these people, and starts building this weird parasocial dynamic as they're talking to you like they know you, they don't know you, but you're learning an abnormal amount of information about their life. So like you start feeling like really beholden. Then suddenly I had watched like 4 hours. Like I had lost track of time, and it was like almost 3 a.m. And I was like, oh no. Like what happened? I go to bed and I wake up, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about these girls and their trailers. And so then I started watching the van trailers and the build out videos. And man, I was like in it. And again, like another 4 hours gone. Just like fucking in a time where I don't have 4 hours to give. I would rather be like doing literally anything else than, criticizing these young women's lives. But I realized that it made me feel so bad about my life decisions. I felt bad about my life choices because I don't have a van. I can't go like camp by a fucking river. I hate camping.
I hate camping.
I fucking hate it.
I hate it. The only thing I like less than camping is hiking, because you just walk up a hill to walk back down. At least if
to walk back down it.
At least if you go camping, you walk up the hill and you stay there for a day. You're like, all right, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's not that like I don't get the appeal, but living in camp trailers for 5 years made me like not want to be out in the elements. Like I really am a homebody. Look at all this bullshit behind me. Again, bad podcast etiquette.
Look at this.
This is, you can't fit this in a fucking van.
Yeah. Buy me a paint station that looks like this in an RV. And maybe.
Right. Yeah. And then fit your dog and your wife in there. That's not going to happen.
No, it's
like,
not.
And so like the idea that this is the life, and like, it doesn't talk about the sacrifice that they gave up to be there. And it, there's just so many things about it that I just found so false and so phony, that like none of them like, they're driving around, $40,000 vans with then another like $80,000 conversion in it. It's shit that is like absolute bullshit. Like nobody can fucking afford this. This is not the norm, but it makes it seem like it's this norm and that's what you should be going after. And there's other people like rallying against that, but the algorithm showed me this. And because I clicked on one, it showed me all of it instead of me like navigating, being like, oh, I'm going to look at campers. Oh, I'm going to look at things that make more sense to me. No, it showed me what it thought was right and what I would like. And pretty young white girls is like very easy for me. Like you don't have to go far from a thumbnail of a girl in a bikini and me going, maybe I should click on that. Like, it's just like, I'm just being totally fucking honest. My lizard brain loves tits and ass. It just always will, period. And I got instantly sucked in off of a girl in a bikini on her 2006 Toyota Prius. I was just like, oh yeah, I'll watch this girl camp in her fucking Prius. Why not? 8 hours later, like I started getting like really upset with my life. And I don't know why. Like, I don't know why it hit me in that way, because like, truthfully, I've never felt that from social media. And this one, I was just like, and I think it's the fact that like, it hit me in such a personal way. I was like, they're fucking lying about what is going on here. They are lying about their happiness and their joy, because I don't think like maybe one of them, there's this one, her name is Christian Schaefer. And I think that maybe she would be totally fine not having a YouTube channel and van living, because she's a photographer. This is her job,
Yeah.
and like, and I have a friend here in St. Louis whose name is Kristen Schaefer. He is an excellent writer for the Riverfront Times. So it was just kind of funny that like I ended up on their channel. And I was like, so out of all these women that I watched and all these, and I watch guys and couples, like I don't want to just harp on women, but it's the one that like hit me the most because it triggered a lizard brain part of me that also made me just be like, oh, like, no, they're just absolutely not telling the truth about what this is and what it means and how hard this life is. And, like they're making you feel bad about your decisions to be a consumer and like nobody should be made to feel bad about their life choices. I like my stuff. I like my books. I like my models. I like my movies. I like my records. I like my musical instruments. All of those stuff you have to sacrifice to have a life like that. And it brought me in. I'm going to say his name totally wrong. I've got to pull it out here just so I make sure I get it right. And I highly recommend that you watch some of his stuff, Trenton. Jaron Lanier or Lanier. He is a futurist. He worked at Atari in the 80s. He went on to develop AI algorithms and all sorts of stuff. He is the reason why social media is the way that it is, or played a part in it, in that machine learning aspect of the algorithm. And he is actively telling everybody to get off social media, stop doing it. And anytime the algorithm recommends that you get into something, you go the other direction because it's selling you a lie. It's selling you things to make you want to buy more stuff, to be in it, to be on the platform longer. And it was the first, like, I've always like respected him and his stance, but it was the first time it hit me where I was like, oh, he is 100% correct. 100% correct. And I just couldn't believe that it came in something so stupid and so trivial of people living their best lives, enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah, I think that, especially that type of YouTube, I think that the algorithm in general, content that performs well is content that makes people want a lifestyle that they don't have. And either out of like a way that it motivates them to want to get that, or it gives them just like, that escapism, like, oh, that would be so nice if sort of like mentality. And I think that those two things both perform super well on the algorithm because I think in a lot of ways, almost everyone can relate with that in some degree. And like, sure. I think like one hilarious example of this that I can relate to is like the movie Wolf of Wall Street. So Wolf of Wall Street is essentially a movie about a guy who was selling lies to people who then was selling this vision to salesmen to then sell the lie. And like this movie is a true story. And like after watching The Wolf of Wall Street, I was like this close to like quitting my job and getting a no cap sales job because I was like, I want to sell everything and drive a Ferrari, Yeah. And it's like, so then I was being sold.
You wanted to drive a Ferrari. I wanted that pile of drugs that they were doing. Like that's how our two brains work differently. Because I had the same thing. I was like, fuck, if I could get that much drugs.
Yeah. There's everywhere on a pool table. Yeah.
Fuck, it's such a fun movie.
So
but
good.
Also like completely despicable. Like that is one that like it'll make you in the same way that what was it? Wall Street? Is that the name of it? With Michael Douglas.
I actually never saw that one.
Oh, dude, great movie.
Okay.
I don't know about the second one, but the first one, Greed is good. Yeah. Something Greco. God, I cannot remember. Totally worth watching. But like Wolf of Wall Street, like, yeah, that hit me in a weird spot too, man.
I think it kind of in the same way. I think it hits those feels inside of you in the same way that like social media algorithm does, where it like gives you this bizarre, weird, tangible, actual pile of motivation where you're like, I can fucking do that. Or it makes you just want to like escape mentally to there and imagine how cool that would be. And like, I think Instagram's probably the largest, um, I guess, platform who really pushes this agenda.
Sure.
So much of Instagram is just like this beautified vision of anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's enough transparency on it to balance out how like filtered the truth actually is. And
Yeah.
like I think that so many people just share the greatest moments, the greatest photos, the greatest videos, and they're not showing the backside of it, you know?
Yeah.
And
It's
it's weird.
and Instagram. So like when my business partner went on his year-round trip to hit all 419 units of the national park system, which is an absurd goal. Like and
It is
truly
insane.
not the really not the way that you should do it if you want to actually enjoy every part of it. Like because like he's often said that there are certain parks that he wish he had more time in, and he's just often said that there are certain parks that he wish he'd never spent any time in at all, because it just was like, well, I'm here, I got my stamp, I'm moving the fuck on. And so like it was just like a lot of wasted energy, but he did it and it was cool. He was like, the Instagram people are the fucking worst, because they are out there and these like beautiful vistas, like, and then they're like taking their selfie photo, but it's not like they walk up to the edge and they're like, photo. That's not how it works. They have to be out there. They have friends taking photos of them. They're, setting up drones. They're getting in everybody's shit to get these like picturesque moments. This isn't something that like, this just happened. It's totally manufactured. They're extremely rude because they are also under a time crunch. And that's I think the other thing that hit me with the van life people. I was like, everybody fucking hates you guys. Like, there are communities that are absolutely making it illegal for you to live in a van in the city, because you guys are actually shitty fucking neighbors. You like devalue the property value, and and maybe there's a certain aspect of jealousy that comes along with it. But the truth is it's not as cute as you think that it is. Like most people actually don't like you and don't want you in their community. I think that was another thing that like really struck me. It's like these guys are saying, like, making it look like everybody likes them in this thing. Like, no, like the people who are out there on the road, the people who are camping, who have to deal with you, don't like you. And I think that that's another like weird, really like skewed vision of like what it goes, because there's only so many places in the United States where you can camp year round, and those places don't want you to camp year round there. Like
Yeah.
the communities are actively making it illegal, and you're like, well, that's fucked up. You should have the freedom to do that. But like, if you look at Oregon right now, and like their homelessness problem is absurd, absolutely absurd. Oregon is like, for such a liberal haven, you would think that they'd have it figured out to set up proper social systems to help these people, and they have not. They fucking
Hmm.
failed them. And it's like one of those things that like has made me realize that sometimes like you can actually liberal too far. like there needs to be some like real good checks and balances along with it. So they're spending millions of dollars on programs that like nobody can take advantage of, which is really sad, because they're like, oh, we will house you, but you can't be into drugs. You can't have, you have to pee clean. Most people who are homeless are drug users because they are like dealing with some sort of mental illness, and they're like self-medicating. They're, the guy, Some More News, Cody.
Mm-mm.
Oh, dude, you would love it. His shit's so funny. He used to write for Cracked. And he did a whole thing where like one afternoon he decided to like, I'm going to see what it's like to be homeless for 48 hours. And
Maybe I
within like,
did see this.
dude, it was really funny. It was like in 2011, 2012. Um, and within like 6 hours of living in his van by a park or his car by a park, he was dropping acid because he's like, what do you do with your fucking time? Like he instantly was like, well, I guess I'm doing drugs today. And, and like, that's the problem with like the homeless. They don't fit into the society. Therefore,
Yeah.
you can't expect them to meet you on society's terms. You have to meet them on their terms. And so much of the homeless problem started out as people who were like, I don't want to pay a mortgage on a $380,000 shitty house that I have to upkeep. I'm going to buy this fucking motor home. I'm going to live right here. I'm going to live for cheap. But like, there is like a weird bell curve where like, if you can't keep that up, if you can't sustain that, if you can't upkeep your van, you just end up homeless living in a fucking van. And then like something happens, a community moves against you, and then you like wake up one day to your van being fucking towed and impounded and crushed, and now you're like literally actually homeless. You just found yourself in the donut hole of society because you were doing what you thought was right, and now you actually have no address, you have nothing. You're now probably addicted to drugs and alcohol because that's what you need to sleep in the fucking city environment. Like, there is so much stuff that like when I just was watching, I was like, God, this is actually really so unhealthy. And I think there's very few people who are actually built for this. And like, if you removed YouTube from the equation, the social media, that like parasocial relationship that makes you feel like you need to keep on feeding the machine, like these people are just like young women with mental illness, like putting themselves out there at risk. And like none of them were talking about their safety measures. Like all of them should be packing heat. Like all of them should be like there was one guy who was like, this is my gun. I was like, good on you, man.
Yep.
Like the one person who's like, people are gonna fuck with you when you're homeless. Like I was like, this is insane. And man, and it just like, I spiraled because of it. I spent like 2 days like going, oh, we've done it all wrong. We need to like shut down social media, shut down YouTube. We need to start it over. We need to start it fresh. We need to do what Sauce is doing. We need to rebrand. We need to fucking like change our outlook on the future.
Yeah. How would you change it? I guess we've kind of gone on a bit of a rant about, some of the issues with what we're seeing and the algorithm kind of forcing us, or, the algorithm basically highlights things that I think that we can both agree don't feel good. As it has a lot of negative outcomes, right? I think that's probably like a blanket statement to sum up a lot of what we just said. But if you had to fix it, what can we do?
Man, that is, I mean, like, and even Jaron will say you can't. Like that the fucking Pandora's box actually is open. Like it's done. Like now we have to figure out how to navigate it, and understand the value in what we are. And I think that and going into some of the things that he preaches and how we live harmoniously with something that is actively working against our best interest, because it truly is. Sometimes it will put you in a zone where you're like, oh fuck, look at all these mini painters. I didn't have mini painter friends, and now I have mini painter friends all over the world. That is like a total win of the algorithm. And can be super important. If you are a fucking urban camper, it'll put you in the groups with the people that'll like help you navigate these things. Like that is a win. But where it gets really ugly is like how your data is used against you and how things are sold to you. And like, dude, I've done that so many times now where I'm like, oh fuck, I just backed a Kickstarter that I saw because of a Facebook ad, something that I didn't actually want, that I never fucking asked for. So like, understand that like your data is valuable, and like maybe there needs to be a whole new like bill of rights, like a bill of digital rights that needs to be drafted up, where we understand that that our autonomy is still very valid in the space. Something that like a social contract that you have to sign to interact with social media and the algorithm and content creation. And maybe it's the fact that it just needs to be taught early on. Like it needs to be part of like a humanities class in high school or even middle school, because My nephew still, all he wants to be when he grows up is a YouTuber. And I'm at the point now where I think if you haven't started in like middle school, you are really going against the grain. Like you are like the closer you get to 18, the harder and harder it's going to be to get a captive audience, so maybe something like that, maybe actually getting paid for your data, things where like these companies have to think very differently about how they interact with you because they have to come to you on your terms, something like that. I don't know, man, because like truthfully, like you can be good, you can mentally prepare yourself for this stuff, but like I've mentally prepared myself for it, and I just had my first time of being like, oh no, like, and it came from a thing that doesn't have anything to do with me. Like I've had way worse like situations in social media and content creation where like actual conflicts and things where that like get into this bizarre cyber bullying, quasi stalking bullshit, like we've both interacted with that. And that's a horrible feeling. This felt worse. Like this thing that didn't even give a fuck about me felt worse. So I don't know how you do that. Like, because it's unquantifiable and it hits different people at different points. Like there's no one thing like if you watch this, you're gonna feel like a piece of shit. Like that's not how the algorithm works. And I think that it's the fact that like I got so seduced to think that the life that I had made for myself, which I love and I'm very proud of and I'm very happy in, wasn't enough. And the life that you have built is enough. And like the goals and dreams that you have laid out for yourself are enough. Like you don't need to live for someone else's goals and values. You need to live for your own. And that's shit that they need to teach you in fucking church. Your parents need to tell you, like it's that level of society that needs to handle it because the algorithm doesn't give a shit. It's going to feed you what it feeds you. It's a machine. It doesn't feel it and it doesn't care.
Yeah, it would take a collective, every creator banding together to change at once to shift the algorithm. And there's always going to be that person who's like, well, why would I change with you? I can just recapture everything that you're leaving on the table. So it will never really change. I think it takes transparency from creators, more transparency about what it really is like, more conversations like this that are like, this is really what's going on. This is why I'm creating what I'm creating right now. This is what I wish I could create instead. So maybe I still will type of conversations. Because I think that I think it's easy to see the surface level of content and just be like, well, that's reality, And I think everybody, God, fuck, dude. I just had this conversation yesterday at work, dude. The old perception is reality conversation. And I'm like, dude, I fucking hate that saying now. I've decided I hate that saying because it should be this instead. Perception is reality only if it's like repeated, right? Like repeated perception is reality. If I walk upstairs and I fall, that's not the stairs are broken. But if I walk up the stairs every day and I fall on the same stair, then maybe something is fucked up on that stair, Right. And it's like, I don't like this mentality that, snapshot perception is the world that we live in anymore. I don't like that. It's like, if this is how it is, show me that 20 times in a row. If this is what you think of me, watch me for, consume 20 pieces of my content and then tell me if that's still what you think of me. And like, I just think that people are just too snapshotty. And I think that people just buy into the surface level too easily. And I don't know if that's something that we can help with as creators to help be more transparent and show more of who we are to help overcome that. Or if that's just, if that's just society because of how things are fed to them now. I don't know.
Do you think that, I mean, because these are the same conversations that our society had to have with like publications of newspapers, and like we had to like actually say that journalism is this thing. And then with TV, we had to set up the FCC to say these are the standards and practices that TV stations have to adhere to. And we're constantly reevaluating that stuff. Do you think that actual like legislation would help, or are you of the camp that the old stodgy white people that make the decisions in our country about these massive tech conglomerates are too out of touch to even understand the internet and how the algorithm works to legislate about it? And at that point, do you think that we can trust these companies to take the step forward to actually write it?
Well, I have a few thoughts about that.
Yeah.
The people running the country have no fucking idea how the internet works. If you've ever watched them interview, if you've ever watched them interview Zuckerberg about how Facebook ads work, that's
dude.
all the evidence you need to know is him being like, the platform is free because we use ads, and them just staring at him like he's just made of bricks, and they have no idea what he's saying. So no, there's absolutely no way that they could legislate that properly because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
I am then, let's just assume that somebody who actually understands what the hell they're talking about would be in charge of that legislation. Let's just assume that, which there's no way you could tell me that anybody in charge right now is that person. But if that is that person, I would be very conflicted about whether that's the right move or not, because I think that really floats on the edge of like, and this is an American problem, right? If you're not from here, you're not going to relate to this, but that really floats on the edge of First Amendment stuff. And I think that that's, to me, where I get really conflicted, right? Like there's obviously horrible aspects about the First Amendment, but there's also predominantly it's a good thing. And so I don't know. I don't know if I could get behind that based on that. Even if I agreed with it, I think that I would err on the side of we can't do this, because that's going to silence one person who, even if I disagree with their voice, deserves to have one. As long as it's not, like fucking Alex Jones, like bury that man. But
but that is the problem with the First Amendment is that we get the QAnon, we get the fucking flat earthers.
Yep.
And we get our beloved family and friends in Facebook jail every 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And so
because of the misinformation. And that's the stuff that like you could totally legislate.
Yeah.
That,
I do agree with that.
And should be done.
Yeah.
Because like it isn't a First Amendment thing. It is actually, it's something that because you can't differentiate between the truth and fiction there. That like that is something that should be tackled.
And I think that's where I come down to is I think, and I do agree, like misinformation and the spread of content that's just negatively impacting society in every way imaginable, instead of, being at least artistic even, like that just needs to go away. But I would say
Alex Jones can make a mean beat though.
I've never, what? He just like,
dude,
he beatboxes?
He has like a huge music production studio and he makes like rap beats and shit. Yeah.
No
it's
way.
It'll make you actually like him as a human being a little bit, and you'll be like, God damn it, fuck this guy.
So I don't know. That's my big problem with it. How would we legislate it without impeding on everybody's ability to have a voice? So I would just say like maybe the solution is just more transparency, potentially even from platforms, right? Like if this person's living in a van, I don't need it on their front page. But if I'm really, really sold on their lifestyle, right? Like in your example, I'm like, what the fuck are they really up to? There should be like, some sort of a transparency tab where I can click on it and be like, oh, this person made $30,000 from YouTube last month. So like, of course they live a day. Like, of course this looks the way it looks, because then in my head, I think, well, that's not something I can relate to. And so then I know that it's escapism to watch, not like trying to emulate or trying to feel like inspired by or reenact.
Man, dude, that's a really interesting aspect. I never even considered like, if there was an actual, like you click on the YouTube video and it's like these are the stats of the people, so actually know what they are. So like you're like, oh well, I can relate to that person. I never even considered that as something, because it just, like I said, it feels like you can't relate to any of it anymore. But I mean, like, you would need to do that, because there are people who make $30,000 a month. A
Mm-hmm.
month.
Yeah.
I made just over $30,000 last year, an entire year. They do in a month, and then they do that 12 times over. In some months, it's way bigger.
Yeah. I think that's what would separate us more from the algorithm, as like, not as far as consuming, because yeah, we're always going to consume what's on the algorithm. I think that would just help with trying to navigate what we're seeing better, because I think that removes some of that relatability in kind of a positive light. Like, if you know the ad revenue behind this video, if you know how much they made this month, if you know how much YouTube makes from this video, it might help you understand more of why it's being shown to you, and might help you appropriately decipher your own feelings about something, more than just being like, this made me feel good. And it's just that dopamine rush of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like it, because there are videos, there is content that you see that just makes you feel good, and you're like, oh, this could be me sometime. And it's, I think if we knew more of the math and more of the analytics behind that, it would help you make a more rational decision about that.
Yeah, dude, that is a really, like, I feel like I've just been mad for like the last like 4 days. Like, truthfully, I've just been like, every day I watch a little bit more. I'm like, God damn this fucking thing. Blah, blah, blah. And you said like truthfully, something, the transparency between creators and the platform that they work on, and how they interact with the consumer of the product, the content enjoyers. And I hate to be so like clinical about it, but like, you are consuming someone's product, regardless if you feel like that's the way it is or not, you are. And the people who are like, I don't want to sell you something, are absolutely always trying to sell you on something. Like, everybody is.
Yeah.
I was with the fucking murder basement. Every time I'm like talking about Pro Acryl paints, it's because I want you to buy Pro Acryl paints, because I want to hear you stop talking about how come you're mad at your paint. Like, but that, even though it comes from a good place, I'm like putting it in your fucking throat. Buy this shit, of which, if you use Murder Basement on checkout, you'll save 5% and I'll get a tiny cut. Dude, I mean, and like, that's the shit. Like, you're like, oh, well, I can support people like this. I can do this. It's all so gray and interconnected. And that's how these people, like, it's death by 1,000 cuts. And because there's so many people that don't make the money from YouTube specifically, but they make it from everything else, and especially like all your weird conspiracy theory gun people, that you'll look at them and be like, these guys aren't bought and paid for by YouTube, because YouTube won't allow them to monetize, but their private investments that people are backing their companies are like $100,000 contracts, for shit that like you and I would never see, and that's all that like weird, like, dark money that just kind of floats out there in the ether.
Right.
It's not Skillshare that's doing it. It's something much more insidious. It's, like lobbying groups paying these people and shit.
Exactly.
And that's that, man. And that's a whole nother fucking can of worms.
Seriously, it is. Yeah, you just got a check from Smith and Wesson for $100,000. I wonder what you're going to make a video about next week.
Dude, my MP Shield is fucking great.
Yeah. I don't really know. I mean, I feel like understanding the algorithm as a consumer is important, to a degree, but also, it's not going to change that there's always going to be one. There's always going to be an algorithm in everything, but I don't know. I don't really know how we could. I think it's just being aware of it is such a huge first step to like, how do we navigate where we're at? How do we fix a lot of the mental health stuff going on both sides of consuming and creating content? It's just transparency. Just having honest conversations, I think, is the biggest first step.
Good point. That's really wholesome.
That is really wholesome.
It's a really wholesome take. since we started off so like fucking harsh, and I know like we didn't
like
solve
jumped
anything.
right in.
We just fucking like hit you guys in the fucking face for an hour and a half, an hour and 43 minutes. I'm very sorry. Like let's wrap this up on like a little bit more upbeat things, you know, like, so you've had a pretty crazy 2 weeks. Like, tell me more about your photo shoot, man. Tell me about the things that are making you happy, and we'll give some people some positivity to send off for the rest of their day.
Yeah, so lots going on in my life right now. A lot of cool stuff coming on, more news to come in the future. The photos, man, photography continues to be something that I get more passionate about every time I do it. I love it. I love shooting. I love the editing. I love the process. I love the challenge. So I shot in Temple Nightclub in Denver, which is probably like the club in Denver now, I would say.
Cool.
It is literally a cave, the most challenging photo environment I've ever been in, but I like that. Like, I'm kind of a psychopath about wanting to learn. Like, if I want to learn something, I want to learn it the hard way, because I really want to experience it. And I'm the same way when I play Warhammer, which is also something that's going good lately. But it was really fun. I learned a lot. I met a photographer who was just fantastic, huge influence, really down to earth. Like, and it's really interesting. I haven't really felt this. I think that you talk to a lot of other creators, you know, like, so Warhammer, for example, right? I think it's very rare to bump into somebody in Warhammer from a creator space that's like there to tell you everything they know. Here's all my secrets. Here's all my tricks. I'm just going to give it to you because I don't want you to have a barrier. I want you to create the best that you can.
Sure.
I think that that's not super common. And the photographer I met at Temple was that guy. He's like, dude, this is my gear. This is the exact camera. These are all my lenses. These are my settings on my camera. This is the type of lighting that I wait for at the club. This is the best place to be at this time because this light's on when this one's not. This is the type of software I use for editing. Like, dude just told me every step of the process. And I was like, holy fuck, like, I just met you. Like, I have strong relationships with like other painters who I wouldn't even expect them to give me that information unless I was like, hey, can you give this? And this guy just was like, here you go. And I was like,
he was probably
shit.
like dying for somebody to actually understand even a sliver of what he was talking about, because everybody's like, oh, that's a cool camera, what do you got? And he's like, oh, I got this thing. You watch the people's like eyes glass over and they're like, I'm really sorry I asked this guy what was going on. Like, the fact that like he could see your enthusiasm and you're just like honest like excitement about what you're doing, I'm sure it was just like, oh, I've got a buddy right now. Let's do this.
Yeah, and I think that he could like relate to me, right? Everybody's had their first shoot in a club that you expect, like, because I will be back at this club because I know the DJ's there, so I will be back. Everybody remembers their first time doing like their first time, and like me and him clicked almost right away because we have the same backpack, which is also insane. Nobody has this backpack. It's made by a company named Douchebags, and it's the best photo backpack ever. Like, super modular, incredible quality, crazy expensive, but like damn worth it. And I was taking my gear out and he's like, dude, I've never seen somebody else in Denver have the Douchebags backpack. And I was like, it's the best. And he's like, I know, dude. And so we connected on that for a while, but yeah, so we just kind of hit it off, and he's definitely been a boy for me, but it's been nice to connect to somebody that can help like push me and like understand where I was. And he could go through, because I was like, dude, I don't know if Canon's the equipment for me anymore. He was like, I was in the exact same page with Nikon 2 years ago. Now I'm at Sony, and this is why I switched. And it was basically everything that I've been like, you know, I really like this about Canon, but I would lose that to gain this. And it was that. It was all the answers. We could have a really transparent conversation. So I switched to Sony, which has been awesome. I'm loving it so far. I'm interested to push the camera in more intense environments, obviously, and see if it can, because just flat out, my camera couldn't keep up with me. And I've never gotten to a point in photography where my equipment couldn't keep up, which is kind of cool. Like, it kind of feels good to hit the maximum limits, because that says to me that I'm learning. And so I'm at the capacity of my equipment. And in order to create the way that I want to create, I need something better. And so I'm finally there, which is a really cool feeling of, it's, not a cheap venture, but I'm able to, sell off my cameras and stuff. So it's fine. Like, it's not a humongous problem to switch equipment. It's just the joys of selling on eBay and all that jazz. So that's been that. I've been playing Warhammer. I've got a tournament tomorrow. So very, very excited about that. Finally, I'm winning some games with this army. It's like the army in the game right now that everybody's like, "Ooh, you play Custodes? Ooh, it's so OP, man!" And I lost 6 games in a row with it. Like, couldn't win a game. I was like, I don't fucking get why this army is good. Because I used to play it at the beginning of this edition, and since their new codex came out, it plays very different. So I'm finally winning some matches, which feels good. I think I'm really starting to learn. So it's just like, and that's, going back, I just want to learn the most challenging environments. I've been playing I don't think Custodes are the best army in the game. There's much better armies than them, more recent books that have come out that are so much more oppressive than they are, that Custodes, I don't have any idea how they could ever actually beat those armies. I've been playing against those to practice. And so, like, I like to practice in challenging environments because I feel like that's where you learn the most. So
absolutely.
I am finally, I got paired into some softer lists, some lists that aren't the hardest actual lists in the game, and just demolish them. So
nice.
I feel like I've got some of the tools to, like, maybe win at least once or twice in this tournament tomorrow. So we'll see. But that's
Hell
it.
Yeah.
Just been busy, man. Work is busy. Life is busy. Warhammer's busy. Photos are busy. Everything's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Well, in some exciting news for me, I got the job.
Woo!
And I finally passed my background check. I found out last night. So that means I didn't have any felonies, didn't lie about where I lived, and I peed a clean pee, which is like thrilling, because the last time I had to do a pee test was for a life insurance thing, of which I failed. I failed it like miserably and had to take like another month to like go. And like the funny thing is like I'm not an consumer of cannabis that often. Like especially once I stopped drinking, I really, kind of just sobered out totally, because I didn't want to trigger anything. And so at the time, I couldn't even remember the last time that I had partook, and I still failed the test. So it was like one of those things that, like, I was terrified, because like I had spent some time in Oregon, like it's legal there. I live right next to a state where it's legal, like and I haven't been working in 6 months, like what the fuck else am I going to do except for, like get a little buzz on and study college. Like, so like, yeah. I'm really thrilled that I passed, because I'm very excited about this job. While it may not have been like a goal of mine to get into, it is a company that repairs casino equipment, so like shufflers and the slot machines and things of that nature. And I was just like, man, I love fixing shit, and I would really love to not have to go into an office every day or deal with customers, but also still make a decent living. And so this hits all of that. It's one of those weird early morning jobs. So like you get to the casino at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and we have an abnormal amount of casinos here in St. Louis because it's all riverboat gambling. So if they back up to the river, they technically can operate there, so it doesn't have to be on like tribal lands or anything. So we got a bunch of casinos here in St. Louis, like a bunch, and they all need shit to be fixed all the time. So I show up at the casino at 7 in the morning, I work till about 3, and then I'm done. And so like I can still do school and get my fucking degree, which I'm like coming to the end of this term, and I'm really excited about my future. Like I feel really good about the stuff that I've done right now, even though I know I probably could have done more in this time. I feel like I've done a lot of soul searching and self work, as well as school studying. So I'm like really stoked about the future for myself for like the first time in years. It feels like I'm just like, oh, everything's finally starting to make a little bit of sense. I can have a little routine. I can make money and anything that I'm learning in school can be applied to this job and other aspects of it. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I also have started playing guitar again. My, you know, who knows if the Ukraine Russian war is still going on by the time that this episode airs in 2 weeks. I hope it isn't. I hope that that Russia backs the fuck down and goes away. But I do have this like weird survivalist conspiracy theorist upbringing where I'm like, man, we're heading into World War III, the fucking doomsayers, and the fucking like I feel some of that shit, and the oil's getting expensive, and even though I drive like a really affordable car, I'm just like, man, the world's gonna get tough. So I decided that like I'd gone so hard into electronic music over the last like 7 years. I don't even have an acoustic instrument to play. I don't even have a guitar amp to play my guitars. So I went out and bought a mandolin guitar. So it's a mandolin body with a guitar neck on it at like a shorter scale. So it's just like an octave higher. And man, I started writing music again. Like sitting there, like, because it's like you can play it really quietly and not drive anybody nuts. So I can like play it at night when my wife has gone to bed. And just like, and so I started writing music again. And that, man, when you find an old friend like that like, it's just such a good feeling, man. And so like I just like had this like kind of spiritual reawakening that like, oh, I'd gotten really far away from some of the stuff that I really actually enjoyed in my life. And so I have this thing that like, if we go in a brownout zone because, gas is too expensive, I can still play guitar and have a good time. If we go camping, if I get into this camper lifestyle, I got something I could bring along with me. It's it kind of fits all the things that make sense for me in the future to have something that I can just, it's small, I can bring it around while I'm at the casinos. I could take it with me on lunch and play guitar. Which is not something you would ever do with anything else, but it's so small. It's such a good traveler companion. I'm like, this is going to be the shit. I'm so super excited about it.
Nice.
So, even though I haven't been playing Elden Ring, which is what everybody else is like freaking out about.
Everybody's playing it.
We'll get into that last stage of our episode where we talk about what we've been excited for this week. And this is what I've been excited for. This is my Gigapet X.
Oh, what?
Yeah, dude, they brought it back again, and now I got a guy on the screen who's got 2 poops that I need to clean up here. Otherwise, he's gonna get really mad at me. But yeah, dude, I had this like weird thing. Like, you ever just hate your smartphone and you just want to not be around it?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I had that thing where I was like, remember when you had like an iPod in your pocket? You had like, it's like, I want a dedicated game device, and I was like, what a better thing to get than a Digimon?
Yeah.
So there you go. My thing this week is a Digimon X. They're very inexpensive on, I mean, just in general, like $20, and I've had like a lot of fun with it. But you can get like the 20-year basic one for like $10 on Amazon.
Really?
Like, get a Digimon. Get yourself a virtual pet. You'll have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And they got these little things you can clip it on your douchebag.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, just turn it in, hook it to your keys.
Well, I have a lot of straps on that backpack. Very modular. Very, very cool backpack. You can make it work for you.
Get the Digimon.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
What are you into this week,
I think
man?
the thing that I'm like thankful and excited about is just my wife. Like, she's been so supportive this week. So last week I was like, I'm going to paint a whole new army. It's the army that I've been playing, but I want to paint it in a different way. Like, I already got some models, but I would be using them as a different thing. So I just wanted like a clean, this is exactly how this army is modeled for this tournament. Like, I could play with what I have. I've got like, like, oh, this gun is actually this gun, and everybody would be like, okay, dude, fine. But I didn't want to do that. So I literally started painting this army last week. She was just so supportive, and it's been a lot of like, early mornings, late nights, and like, she's just been so supportive of this journey of like trying to like, make Warhammer playing it a priority again. And like, I got to say, like, coming out of COVID, I continue to have so much excitement and like just joy, like getting to just hang out with the boys again on Tuesday nights.
Dude, being around people
Dude,
is so good.
It's great, man. It just gives me like that one like dude outlet that's just so nice. So I gotta say that's something that has been so nice. And like, so yeah, shout out wife for just being there for the journey and really supporting me. It's been great. It's made a huge difference to like being able to take care of what I want to get taken care of.
Dude, that is the wholesomest sentiment I think that has ever been said on here. That's so fucking great. I'm so glad that you have that, man.
Yeah.
And glad that you have the Warhammer outlet. I may be like super critical on Games Workshop, but I want my friends to be playing Warhammer. I want them to be going out there. I want them to be doing the thing that they love and they hobby. We have a bunch of our friends have kids now. And so we had a 1-year-old's birthday the other day. And I got to see friends who I hadn't seen in years now because of COVID. And I'm just like, I miss all of you guys so much. We're hugging now because like all of them have like had COVID and they're, we're all vaccinated. And I'm just like, I'm just going to get in here and I'm going to get some of this love because I love y'all.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
I think I like that more than even playing at this point. It's just chilling with the guys. And like we all like we chill, we play a game. Sometimes, maybe not even sometimes. At this point, it's basically every Tuesday afterwards, we just go to the bar next door. And I think we're at the bar next door for longer than we plan. It's not even like we're getting hammered. Like we have like 1 or 2 drinks, but are there for like 3 hours just talking. And it's like, it's just so nice to just catch up and see everybody again.
That's so good. And I hope that this is the true path of the future for us all, because I think that we've all really gotten too far away from the things that make us happy. And and that so like I'm stoked that is what you have in your life right now, man. That's so fucking exciting.
It's like, it's to your point, and I think something that maybe we should do next episode is connecting with an old friend, like rediscovering Warhammer, the joy of playing it. Like, dude, the painting this army was so nostalgic in a weird way because like lately I've been painting while I watch like YouTube or listen to some like, watching like a video podcast. And it's like, dude, I turn off my computer and just put in earbuds and listen to music and just paint it. And I was like, dude, I haven't done that in like 3 years. That's like the very beginning of this hobby. I would do that. I haven't done that. Just listen to music and paint it for hours. And like, that was connecting with an old friend to me. Like, it was weird.
The other problem with this fucking content creation game is that we lose touch with the things that we love about the things that we did.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to appeal to something that doesn't give a fuck about us. And now you're enjoying music again, getting back into your art and the things that you actually, the motivations that brought you into it in the first place. God damn it, dude. That's so exciting that you had that.
Yeah. And you're having it too. I think that we could actually probably cover a whole lot of like refining an old friend.
Dude.
We should do that episode.
Next episode, let's do it. Let's do it.
Woo! Wholesome.
We got the plans. Sorry about the downer episode this time. It's really intense and there's a lot of things. And if you have any like ideas or opinions about it, or if I'm totally fucking wrong, please tell me. Or if you got other people, other futurists that have ideas on how to fix it, let us know. We really want to interact with you guys on these things. But get ready for the return of an old friend in your life. That will be the next episode.
Yeah.
Unless if we wake up one day and we're like, we need to talk about something different.
There's a 50-50 shot that happens.
Dude, it's the way it always goes, man.
Oh man. Well, this has been great.
Yes, it has been. I'm really happy for you. Good luck tomorrow with your games, and definitely keep me in the loop. I will know how you do.
I will. Hopefully not last. That's my goal. My goal is 1 win and have fun. Just simple.
Not last.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. As long as I'm not last.
Yep.
All right, buddy.
Sweet.